So welcome to an extremely formal review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Informal Grant.
So today we're taking a look at a brand new game from Hollandspiele, and that is The Grass Crown. This is a brand new game designed by Amabel Holland, and it is part of their Swords and Shields system.
Shields and Swords Ages.
Oh, Shields and Swords Ages. Yep. And I think it's, well, because I think they originally did, there was Shields and Swords 2.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not sure, yeah.
That they then made With It or On It.
Yep, which changed the system a little bit.
Which is, that's like the first game in this kind of, the new system.
Yeah.
And then this just got released, The Grass Crown. And so, if you've played With It or On It, which we did a video review for, you can go and check that out.
Love that game, by the way. Really a cool game.
Very, just unique stuff going on.
Yeah.
This is a sequel to that specifically. Mm-hmm. So this is a 2-player head-to-head ancients kind of, battle line square encounter war game.
Mm-hmm. Square encounters, not hexes.
Yes, not hexes.
It is squares.
And that is very important in this.
Yeah.
With the shapes of the formations and the way that movement's regulated.
And it's most important in regards to facing.
Yes.
Right? You cannot change your facing like you can in some hex encounter games.
And you can never move backwards. So
right.
your lateral, it's
horses can,
yes.
Cavalry can, but other units it's just not. Yeah.
So yeah, the map and the units themselves, the way it's regulated, is such an interesting take on Ancients wargaming.
Yeah.
This is like kind of the next big thing. Mm-hmm. By big, I mean it comes in a big 2-inch box.
And we talked about the reason for that, and I'm sure that Amabel would say we think it's because there's going to be quite a few expansions or additions that you can just put in.
Yeah, because the only other one that they've got like this is Horse and Musket, and it's because there's 4 expansions to that, and there's all those campaign books, and we're hoping that that's what this is signaling, that there's going to be more of this.
Yeah.
So this game comes with 10 scenarios in it.
Which is 4 more than With It or On It.
With It or On It only had 6. The rulebook is entirely redone.
Almost double the size, I felt like, right?
Oh my gosh, it's more than that. Like the original rules are like 6 pages.
Yeah.
This thing is like 26 pages.
But it's not that the rules have changed that significantly. It's just there's a lot more explanation and examples.
Yeah, so this rule book is, one of their best rule books. Mm-hmm. So, the last half of it is a massive example of play, showing you exactly how to play it. And there's huge diagrams of how to play on every single page.
Yeah.
Now, why I bring that up is because you can play With It or On It. The text is very clear, and I understood what the text was saying.
I will say this. I remember when the first time we played it, we struggled with it a little bit.
Yeah.
We got the general mechanics, but the specific strategies eluded us because we didn't understand how they all worked together.
And seeing it in pictorial form in the rules
helps
is
immensely.
Like, oh, this is what they're meaning. And why that's important is because this game does a lot of things differently to a lot of the games that we've played.
Yeah.
Where you've got these kind of wings or formations of units, and then there's like a skirmish zone in front of them that moves with them, and then if someone steps in there and triggers that, it goes away, but that's not their skirmish limit. You can skirmish beyond. There's some kind of nuance to the stuff. Seeing it drawn out makes this game accessible to absolutely everyone.
Well, the reality of words versus a picture, it's just you need to read the words to understand the framework.
Yeah.
The picture really helps you see it in action, and
yes.
And one of the things that I think the pictures helped so much with was the rally checks.
Yeah.
The adjacency and it used to be you had to be adjacent.
Yeah, to 2 units
to not be
way.
Routed. Now you just have to be within 2 spaces
within
of
2
another.
Squares of
2 squares. And so what I'm saying is, in words, those seem very similar. The concept seems similar.
Yeah, it'd be easy to miss that.
But when you see it in those pictorial, you're like, okay, that's a key difference. It was a design choice based on historical research and evidence of how hoplite formations fought.
The first game was a lot of Greek stuff. This is like Romans, and it's the development of Roman warfare throughout time.
And what the thesis of this game, I think, is that concept of the Romans didn't invent anything. I mean, the reality is the Romans simply improved upon what others had done. I think they invented some stuff, but
sure.
The phalanx, they took that from the Greeks and they made it their own.
Yeah.
And they changed it, and it dominated the Western world.
Yeah, they figured out how to defeat a lot of those norms and things like that.
And I think that's the thesis of this game. So it was very interesting to see the genesis of those concepts in With It or On It, and see them expanded upon and developed. I like that. I would love to do a study on this. I'm not sure I have the time,
but there is a book of
which I didn't take a look through.
I have read some of it, and it's amazing. So in here there is a brief and digressive.
Amabel is wordy. There's nothing brief about
There's
that.
a brief and digressive but mostly accurate military history of the Roman Republic with jokes. And the digressive is that there is...
I probably need to borrow that from you because I have not seen that.
There is an amount of footnotes here that is akin to the rulebook of other games.
Got it.
Like, it's very fun, it's very tongue-in-cheek, but it's got, like, good history in it, but it's not extremely dry. So all of that stuff is, like, kind of in there.
Yeah.
To delve into that stuff if you want to.
And maybe I should read that and then compare the systems and how it... That would be what I'd really like to see. And I guess that she talks about that.
Yes.
That's what she does in this 40-page book.
And it's great. Like, there's
with the cool little art on it, I noticed.
Yeah, it's a bunch of... what do you call that? Like, license-free stuff. Like, it's in public domain art.
Got it. Public domain. I got it. Yeah,
but it's... The game itself is very enjoyable. The product is, I'm going to say, much more improved over the first one. And what I mean by that is the first one just had, like, silhouettes of the units. Mm-hmm. Here, the artist has got full color.
I actually really liked the silhouettes because they felt... Yeah. I have always... Okay, this is a side note.
Sure.
When I was a kid, I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade, we did a book report. I did a book report on the Greeks.
Okay.
And the Greek art style, when they would draw their soldiers, is very cartoony. I mean, it really is.
I know what you're saying by that.
It's very different than what you would see with Romans. And I always loved that style. That's why I think I liked that style on the other one, but it was very Greek. This feels a lot more Roman, a little more serious.
Yeah, it's like fully drawn spec and fully colored units.
I digress, but that was something I noticed immediately. I was like, I miss the little silhouette-y characters.
Interesting. Because
that's what I remember. In fact, I got tracing paper when I was a kid. Sorry, I'm really going off.
No, this is great.
I got tracing paper, that really thin, see-through, because on my book report, I made some dioramas. And I was a terrible artist. So I literally traced that public art or domain art because there was nothing copyrighted at that time, I don't think.
Sure.
And I would put those on like cardboard, color them, and then stand them up. And made my little diorama of a battle going on.
That's hilarious. That's cool.
Anyway, it was probably my first attempt at understanding and realizing what history was about. And I chose the Greeks because I think that art style attracted me. Now, from there, I went all different types of ways. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, they pumped up the artwork on those. The rulebook is significantly redone.
Yep. The counters are pretty much the same, though. They're the square, thick counters.
Yep, what you would expect.
They're double-sided.
But there's also a ton of terrain counters and tiles. Yep. There's rivers. There's, like, broken terrain. There are slopes.
Yep.
And the game also has elephants. So what's not to like about elephants?
Well, any ancient game that doesn't have elephants in it, I think is just a mistake.
Well, it's just waiting for the elephants expansion, at least.
Or, exactly.
But yeah, the game has so much stuff in it. But the gameplay itself retains that same pressure and tension from the previous version that we played.
It's still the same concept. It focuses on the integrity of your line. It focuses on keeping your... I mean, keeping your units lined up so they protect each other and help each other.
Yeah, and as fresh as possible.
Yeah, you don't want your really bad units always in the back. Sometimes you want to put them in the middle. I mean, there's a number of strategies that I've tried out here that you can't always put your bad guys in the back.
No.
Because you can't support with them and take a wound because they die.
Well, and especially in a lot of these ones...
And what I mean by bad is that brittle versus...
Yeah, the brittle units
the brittle
that just
concept.
Like, disappear. Yeah. This one's also... I feel like there's more scenarios with cavalry in them.
Yes.
And if you put all your guys in the back and the cavalry flanks you, you are done.
Yeah, because you're going to have nowhere to retreat.
That stuff will just melt away, and then all your good units are being flanked, and they'll dissolve. So there's more nuance to a lot of some of the stuff here. And they also, they're like, oh, it's like necessarily a little bit more complicated. What that means is that some of the scenarios have like special layers of rules in them. So
like for instance, the scenario that we played here tonight, I had that Pompey's, what was it called? Pompey's mistake, blunder, where I actually found it not to be a blunder. It helped me quite a bit.
Well, yeah.
But it was cool where I could trade out one color of units that were fresh for killed units without changing the VP totals, but it gave me new fresh units to really start pressuring you more in the center. Yeah. It worked out well for me.
But there's also there's rules for combined arms and all the elephantry stuff is kind of extra on top.
Yeah.
And there's some other rules that I do not know how to pronounce because I don't speak Latin. But that didn't come up in our story, but for the Hannibal stuff. He's got all these combined arms rules, and so he can issue orders slightly differently in a rule-breaking way.
There are 10 scenarios here. You can play this game and play this game and play this game.
Yes.
And the reality is, once again, you play one side, you flip, you play the other side. You've really got 20 totally different scenarios and experiences here.
And more than other games... Up front, this one is if you play it from start to finish, the thesis is you'll see the development,
the evolving
of Roman warfare, which I think is really, really interesting. So many other games, it's just chronological, so you're I'm playing through the campaign.
Yep.
And how much growth in the change of tactics do you see? I'm not sure.
Well, that is one thing I think I regret, and we've said this a lot. I regret about what we do. Because I can't play this game 25 times before
we won't, in reality.
We play it to understand it. We play it to get a feel for it. We play it to show you out there what the game is. Man, I'd love to dive into this and play all 10 scenarios and see that evolution.
Yeah.
Because this is fascinating to me. Style of warfare, tactics, and strategy. I love that. And I love how it is different here. I think there's a lot of cool things. The other things I really like about this, there's 3 things I love about this system. The concept of your combat class.
Yeah.
If you're a heavy infantry, you're typically a B or an A.
A or a B usually.
If you're a hoplite, you're an A, I think. You're well, not always.
Maybe a B
there
or
were
a
some
C.
B's or C's. But they're, you compare that against who you're fighting. So if a heavy infantry is fighting a light infantry, you're going to have a huge modifier on your rolls.
Yeah,
there's a little matrix.
Your combat class determines which row on the CRT you roll on, but the combat matrix unit on unit determines a dice roll modifier to that.
Yep.
So there's a number of factors that go into the results, and as such, you're looking at where you place your units.
Yep.
You're looking at who's going to attack who. And some of that's fixed by the scenario, but when you're putting your units out to start with, their quality is secret and hidden from the opponent. So you're first off, you're secretly putting I'm putting all my crap units up front for whatever reason. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
Put all my good ones behind.
Well, I think that's a solid strategy. Put some of your weak ones up front, support them with bigger ones so they can take. I just think that's a solid strategy. I do.
Yeah, maybe you do a few exhaustions and you run in with the good troops.
Yeah.
But you can. You're looking at that kind of thing, but you're also looking at he's got a couple of A units there and a couple of C units on that side of his wing, so I'm gonna overload there or try to match here, and how you put those out is interesting.
Yeah, but so that's one of the elements that I just love, that matrix, and I love that it uses an 8-sider. We talked about that at length. We've talked about it before. it just provides you a different, wider array of results.
Yes.
I like it. I can roll an 8-sider, and you know what? It's kind of like, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's more random than a 6-sider.
It's more random than a 6-sider, and 10-siders are probably used in some of our favorite games.
Yeah, I think a lot of games do 10s.
I just like 8. I just think it's cool.
Underrated dice.
It is a very underrated dice, so I love that aspect. I also, the third and final thing is those command chits. That is one of the greatest activation, action choice mechanisms in a game. Like, it's just so simple, but it works.
Yes.
You have, each player has the same activation chits. Now, our scenario said, well, Pompey's guys don't have the Aquila.
Yeah.
But these different chits, you know, it's move, it's fight, it's skirmish, it's Aquila, which is like a double something.
That kind of double thing, or do a big...
They also have a rally. There's initiative. But the cool thing is they're double-sided markers.
Yes.
Right? So move is paired up with what? Fight. So you can't move your formation up and then throw down a fight. They got to move up, organize themselves, and then get ready next time to attack.
Yes.
Guess what? Now your opponent, because you moved up into, they can throw down fight.
Yeah, it's that defensive kind of
and
fight
it's,
that you get into.
I love that. I love it. I think it's so great. I think it was thought out very well. I'm sure Amabel went through several different iterations, or maybe she's pretty smart. Maybe she understood immediately. Move and attack's going to be the same one.
Yeah,
that'll be
cool. I'd love to know the history about how that particular
was there iterations?
What that looked like over the course,
or
it
even
is cool.
how it started out and then what it melded or formed into.
That'd be interesting.
I just think that system is so. I just think it's so neat.
Well, and it's you know, anytime you have action selection, it's a mechanic that is enjoyable, right? You're faced with decisions and
choices,
they're meaningful, and player agency is something that I believe in. So you've got that, but it's not paralyzing. I don't have 9 things I got to choose from.
You've got 4 or 5.
It's I got 2 double-sided chits, and do I want to go mega on one of them? Like that's it, really.
The other cool thing is that Aquila. I really like that concept of, you know, you throw that down with an attack, your attack's more powerful.
Yes.
You're readied, you're prepared, your leaders are there. You're going to get a bonus. Actually, it's a negative. Because you want to roll low.
You get a bonus negative.
But I just love that. And then Amabel threw some other stuff in there, like this initiative token. What did they call the reroll?
I just think, is it just reroll token? It's Fortuna, I believe.
Fortuna. I mean, she threw those things in there, and they just added a concept of fun.
Yeah.
Just a little randomness, and it reminded me so much, and we love Combat Commander, but that damn... The initiative token that you can force someone to re-roll. And this is the same concept, because you can use that not only on your re-rolls, but you can force someone else to re-roll, and once you do it twice, you got to flip it over,
give it to them,
and then now they have the power.
Yeah.
And I just like that, because once again, these have to be fun. They should be a study in tactics and combat.
They definitely should be fun.
But they should be fun, because you know it's and fun is a hard word. We don't sit here and go, I'm having such a
It's a war game, and game is part of that.
And
there are some ancient war games that are quite dry.
Some of the greatest ones are quite dry. We played one a couple weeks ago that we didn't shoot a video on because we did not like it.
Like this is not, like I wasn't having fun. And if
I was not having fun. Yep.
I'm not going to recommend that to people.
Well, I'm
like
upset on
straight
that.
up.
We're not going to name the game, but that was one I think that could they have integrated some of this stuff, would have added the fun factor, and that game would have been really dope.
And this game is very enjoyable. I like the tension from this game, because this game you kind of got to get into it.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to get stuck in and kind of see what happens, and then from there your real kind of crunchy micromanaging of stuff. That's when it starts to happen and starts to get real meaningful. Who you're going to rally, in which order are you going to rally them to get bonuses? Can you chain those bonuses to get good bonuses with someone who didn't have them previously?
That is such a great part. The chaining of fresh units to provide bonuses on rally. Yeah. I love that concept.
And equally, the order in which I choose to do my attacks.
Yep, is key.
I got to do an attack with this guy because he's supported by this guy back here, and as such this can absorb a loss if I roll poorly. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to move to another guy.
Yep,
and it goes on and on.
And you can only attack one enemy unit once.
Yes,
you can't if you have 3 guys surrounding them. You can't all attack, and there's a reason for that. The way the game is set up. So you really got to think about that. You got to think about that. I also really enjoyed the cavalry in this one, whereas in With It or On It, the light horse, I just didn't really enjoy them as much. I thought the cavalry in this one was very well done.
And they feature much more strongly in this game.
Yeah.
They're in almost every scenario. And they're just a much bigger part of it.
Well, it was so interesting because, and I knew this was going to happen. Like your first move, I thought we're going to fight it out here on the left flank, and these horse are going to kill each other until one of us is left standing, and then that's going to cause a whole lot of havoc for the enemy unit that's being attacked and harassed by
whoever loses that is going to go real bad.
And it was so interesting the way, and I felt gamey because but it's part of the game. It's the strategy. How did you use those horse? How did you move them, maneuver them, and get them in position? And
a couple rolls here or there, because the rolls for the horses are difficult.
Well, and once again, that goes back to the aspect of it's a game.
Yeah.
You got to throw a die. And, man, your attacks in the center were just crushing me.
My foot units were doing real well.
Even though...
my horses just collapsed.
Well, even though you were attacking up a slope...
Yeah.
So your A units were becoming Bs, and your Bs
degraded a level.
And it just, you were still kicking the trash out of me, and I thought, what the hell's going on? But that's what was so beautiful about this. Yep. I love this system. I love this game. I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I remember when we played With It or On It, we didn't necessarily really want to, because it was kind of boring looking.
Yeah, and
it was fairly plain.
Shame on me for that.
Right. I was trying to not throw you under the bus.
No, it was you.
I was the one that wanted to play
He's been pushing me for like months to play this thing, and I'm like,
really? And we played it, and I was like, damn, that was dope.
Yeah, we played it, I'm like, I fully,
Yep.
I will lay in my bed of nails. I absolutely deserve it. Because the game system is so cool.
Yeah. So well done.
And the thing that I like about kind of ancient style games is seeing that tipping point. And you always get there in these kinds of battles, well, usually anyway, where it's like, you're working, you're keeping your morale up, trying to rally guys, getting some good attacks. And at some point, the battle's going to kind of turn one way or the other.
Yep.
Either a flank kind of gives way, or you make a breakthrough in the middle, and then just watching like the stuff just dissolve as everyone like routes, and you push forward, and like the game's kind of over at that point. But like, it's very cool doing that and seeing that and like what caused that. And could I have rallied one more guy to keep these guys from routing?
The real beauty of that routing concept and mechanism is when because it has to be units have to be within 2 spaces of other units to, once one unit goes, it's like a domino effect.
Yes.
Oh, now that guy's not adjacent or near
and if
other
a wing
units,
gets split, it happens really
fast, and it very fascinating. I loved that part of the game in With It or On It.
And
I saw it here just as important, and I got lucky because I had that Pompey's
you were able to
fill those gaps. And now I'm worried about my purple there.
Then they give way and I run off the board. And I get MVPs for that.
So I don't know. This game is just very well done. This is actually Amabel's first game with her name on it.
Yes.
Right?
And I believe
that's correct.
Extremely proud of that.
Yeah.
And we're proud of that too.
Well, I noticed that she was extremely proud of it because I think at the top of Amabel Holland's on every page.
Yeah.
So kudos. I don't say that in a bad way. I was it's there on every page. I'm sure that was intentional.
And I am very much looking forward to, down the line, I got this big old sweet box with all this empty space in it. and I hope that there's more of this to come, because,
Yeah.
you know, if people are like, oh, what's a good place to start with Ancients? This is a good place to start with Ancients.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, I'm like...
Because it's cool.
And
it's just got so many great design
games
elements.
Don't take that long.
No, they don't.
They really don't. You can...
And when they start snowballing, man, it can be over real quick.
Yeah, and
real quick.
Yeah, the game, you know, you like get into it, fight, and then it's like, bam.
Yeah.
You're like,
oh, I just lost 12 victory points that one round.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And
losing a hero in this game.
Ooh, spicy.
They were 4 points.
Those are worth 4 points.
I lost, I think, 1. You didn't lose any.
No,
I don't know. That hurt me badly.
But yeah, it's not just victory points. Now there's a hole in my line.
Yeah.
So I'm closer to my other guy's routing. If I move up in there, then I'm attacking all of your bad units in the back, and they're all melting away.
Just so good.
It's a fun game.
If I had to have one complaint about this system or this product, I'm just not a fan of the map. It's basic. It's very Ancients-like, because all the games are... Well, I mean, CNC Ancients. It's the same thing. It's a green, and they have a couple of tiles where you throw out a rock.
Ancients is just like sand, right?
Yeah, it's just... It's what it was. I would have loved to have seen maybe a little detail on the map, but it's a very nitpicky thing. That is one complaint I've heard from a lot of people who have seen our videos on this or my written posts from With It or On It. It's like, what's up with that map? And I'm like, you know what? It's just what it is.
Yeah, I don't care about that. The counters are all bold colors. Yep. And everything stands out very easily. What it makes it, because the colors are like, this is the formation, it's extremely easy to identify what's what. And I'll be honest, with some of the like GBOH games,
it's hard.
That's very confusing.
Very challenging.
Some of the units look similar, but they're all in like a white background.
Yeah.
This is no mistaking what's what, and I appreciate that very much. What I'll do is I'll kind of show you how some of this works, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. So here's a look at the map here. We can kind of slide that up a little bit for you. So we kind of talked about it. It's not a hex map, but it is a grid. So there is standardized movement from that standpoint. Nice green field. Now this game does come with terrain tiles, and you can see here we've got all of these kind of brown ones. They have a ridge on them. This is an upward slope. But these are dual-sided. There's a river on one side of them, so there are scenarios with rivers in them. And then there's ones which are like rough terrain, like broken ground, stuff like that. So it gives you more variety than you get in the first title in the series. That's one of the first things to look at. But other than that, and you can see they've got the new kind of artwork that we talked about on the counters. So they are nice, full color little illustrations, as opposed to being just the black silhouettes of the units before. Just an extra nice little layer of kind of flavor of who's what on there. Helps with differentiation between some of the units at a glance. But other than that, a lot of this will seem familiar to you if you've played With It or On It. So one of the core mechanics of this game, and what I would say is this system, this series of little kind of order tokens. So each player has a set of 3 of these. You have one which has a sword on it for attack. The reverse side is a move. Then you have this one here, which is it's kind of a standard. This is a rally action, and the reverse side of that has these javelins. This is a skirmish action. And then you have this one, which is it's not dual-sided. It's the same on both. This is the Aquila. And what you're going to do at the beginning of your turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose 2 of these to utilize. You can choose 1, but most of the time you're going to want to do 2. And what you're looking at is do I want to do a combination of kind of 2 different actions, maybe a move and a rally, or a move and a skirmish, or a skirmish and an attack, or an attack and a rally? And again, the sequence of play is going to affect some of your decision making there of what you kind of reasonably want to do. Or are you going to play the Aquila with one of these? So I've got an attack with an Aquila. The Aquila basically means that you can either issue this order to all of your foot units, or, and you suffer a penalty for that, or you can issue this attack order to one unit, but it's kind of like an extra strong attack. You actually get a dice roll modifier in your favor when you do that. Or, for example, if you do an Aquila with a skirmish, you do a skirmish, and then you just do another skirmish phase with that same unit. And that's the important part to note in this, and why it's an interesting game with good choices here, is that, generally speaking, when you issue your 2 orders, they have to go on the same unit. You can't say, these guys are going to fight, and or like, these guys are going to skirmish, and these guys up here are going to fight. You have to order, if you're doing 2 orders, which again you always would basically, you're going to do both of those on the same unit. You can't split them like that. That's where the other power of the Aquila is important. This is the only way to activate multiple units. You play the sword, I'm going to do an attack. I can play the Aquila to either make this unit do an attack with a positive modifier, or I can do this to give an attack order to every single one of my foot units. Not to Cav, they can't benefit from that, but all of them. So I can activate lots of guys to do a regular attack. The problem is what that does, if I choose to do that, and there will be points in the game where you kind of need to, I need to move everyone up. We need to kind of get into melee range, for example. When you do that and you issue your standard order to multiple foot units, it permanently reduces your rally limit by 1. And your rally limit is quite literally the number of dudes in a formation that you can rally. And, you think about all of your commanders and all their messengers and stuff, they're all issuing all those orders instead of going up to the front lines and like rallying troops, right? You'll reduce capacity because your command structure is occupied doing larger things. It's really neat. But this, you do it that first time, like, yeah, cool. Then you start doing it again, and then all of a sudden, when you start taking a lot of melee damage and you can only rally 2 of them, it really hurts. So you have to be very judicious about if and when you do these larger orders. Can you get away with just one big push, or do you want to, like, move everyone and then, start double moving guys in? There's a lot of interesting choices just from this little small activation set. It's really cool. And the sequence of play, like I said, kind of plays into that. So if we look at our, let's see, do I have it here? The sequence of play in the rule book is, I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, so you do your command phase, then you do your skirmish phase, then you do your rally phase, then move, then attack. So the order in which you do those is important, because you're going to do your rallies before you do attacks, for example. But you're going to do skirmishes before rallies. And so, what you can do is I'm going to do a rally and an attack to get your guys, it's an attempt to get them flipped over to their strong side, so that then when they attack, they're attacking at their best possible kind of strength, so to speak. And so you get into some very neat, there's just some pressures on the choices that you're making, which I appreciate very much. So this is your little command phase. You're going to issue your orders, and then you're just going to execute your orders. When you're doing a skirmish is an abstract kind of thing. And what I mean by that is if you think about ancients and what skirmishers did, they would run forward, throw their javelins, run away. Or they'd run up, do all their slings, and run away, basically. They'd do flanking type stuff. In this, instead of moving all your guys up, doing it and moving them back, you skip the movement part of it. It acts kind of like a ranged attack would in other games, but because it's a skirmish, you kind of just imagine, they're running forward, throwing their javelins, because they don't have that long a range, and then they run back. But it just saves you the hassle and the admin of moving everyone. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll a d8. These guys are going to do them. Boom, I rolled a 2, which is very bad. You're going to add to that your skirmish modifier, which is defined by the scenario. So if I whip open the battle book, for example, the skirmish limit on this one is a 3, the modifier. So you add 3 to your 2. If you score an 8 or more, you win. 3 is not good. Some of the modifiers can get pretty spicy. You can get up into 4s and 5s, where you're going to hit a lot more. If you do succeed, then you attack this formation. Not a single guy, this formation. And then the opponent's going to be like, okay, this dude is... he gets exhausted, basically. And he flips over. If you've got the 1 stripe, that's good. If you ever have the 2 stripes, this is a brittle unit. If you flip a guy over and he's got 2 stripes on him, he's immediately removed from the game. He's eliminated. That's one of the most cool parts of this, is you've got this counter mix of blue units, and that is not all of them. There's a bunch more blue units in the box, which I've got off map here, which, so you kind of shuffle them all up, and then you draw X amount that you're going to put out, and so out of that, you're going to have a mix of some good units, some bad units. You might draw like all the bad ones and have it, be skewed one way or the other. Then you have to set them up to best utilize yourself. Do I put my heroes and my really good units in the front, or do I kind of intermix a couple of these brittle guys? And just, it's a very cool, your little setup is fun. It's a nice little exercise as well. But yeah, skirmish, you just kind of roll a die and you might kill one guy. If you're close enough, you might roll a die and kill 2 guys. But that's skirmishing. It's kind of just the picking each other off back and forth whilst you're kind of out of melee range. Again, some armies are really good at it, so they're going to want to do all these kind of double skirmishes as much as possible, weaken everyone, because if I end up having to flip this guy, he cannot move in the move phase unless he's rallied. So then everyone's got to move around him, and it's extremely slow and arduous, and now your formation's out of whack, all this kind of stuff. So you want to do that, as much as you can in an opportune manner. Moving is moving, how you might imagine. Everyone has a movement of like 4, basically. You move 4 spaces. And then there's this little kind of skirmish zone up front. Once you ping into that, you have to stop, so that then on a subsequent turn you kind of do your final charge in. The Cav have some special rules. They're the only units that can move diagonally, and they've got much more freedom of movement, which is fun to do. You get a bit chaotic with Cav on Cav, and then you start doing this flanking stuff. It's pretty cool. Rally is, you're going to rally units. I'm going to try to rally this guy, and then this guy. This guy's brittle, he's dead. Luckily, I've only got a rally limit of 2, so that's the 2 that I can do within my formation. So to rally, again, it's roll a d8, and you need an 8. So I've got this dude, so this guy here, he's adjacent to 2 good order units, so he's going to roll this die plus 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 is more than 8. Great, we get to flip over. Then this guy's going to do the same thing. He's still plus 2, because he's adjacent to 2 units. Wow, amazing. Great. Make sure you roll like that when you play this game. But when things, like in here, things start to get pretty spicy. I could roll this guy first, but he's got no modifiers. I roll this guy, he's got 2 modifiers, so he might flip over, who's then going to give this guy an extra modifier, for example. So the order in which you choose to do them can be important. But then once you get into melee, you're going to start doing your attacks. You've got, your units have a letter rating on them. These guys are Bs. Most of these are heavy infantry, so they're all Bs on them. And what you do is you kind of check to see if you go up or down in combat classes. So if you're a regular unit in good order and you're fighting against a bad order unit, it's you're going to kind of go up 1, basically. Or so you might become an A in that instance. Or if you're broken attacking a strong guy, you go down 1. You go from a B to a C. So if I'm a B and I can get myself up to an A, I'm going to roll on this A row, which is, it's better. So I'm going to roll my little die. I've rolled a 1. Fantastic. Of course I did. So our 1 on the A is DX. So what that means is that the defender becomes exhausted. So, yeah. That's good. Yes, that is good. You want to roll low in this game. I had forgotten about that. Yes. So, defender exhausted, great. If the defender's already exhausted, you can put it on a guy who's next to him. Boop. If no one can satisfy those conditions, so if we got an exhausted result now, one of these dudes has to be killed. So just kill the guy in the back. Boop, he's dead. He's worth 2 route points on him, so he's worth 2 victory points to the opponent. Usually you have to get a certain number of points by killing a bunch of guys and having them flee off the board to win the scenario. We've got heavy infantry on heavy infantry, so there's no modifier. But if you've got heavy infantry attacking light infantry, you get a -1. And again, you're trying to roll low, that's good. Light infantry trying to go up against heavy infantry, you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to do that. Phalanx units kind of a mixed bag. They're very good against light infantry, but not so great against other things. So the classes of units do matter. They'll matter in some scenarios more than others. In this one, all the foot infantry are all heavy, so it's a net 0. So in this instance, that particular aspect didn't matter, but in other scenarios, you get into some pretty cool, I gotta try and get these guys against these guys, how do I move my forces around to do that kind of stuff, because the game isn't very long, nor is it, you don't, outside of Cav, you don't have a ton of freedom of movement. Like, these green dudes, they can't just, like, start swinging around here. You don't have enough time to do that, if anything. But also, they're kind of jammed between your 2 other flanks, and this wing is, like, would take them forever to do that, so you're just going to go forward and kind of commit in that instance. But that's the combat. The combat is very simple. You're going to do all the combats of everyone who can, in your kind of front rows of your infantry. Attack, attack, attack. You're going to do a bunch of losses to them, hopefully. If you roll really badly, you're going to start getting exchanges where you both take a loss, or if you're real bad, you're going to take a bunch of losses. That's extremely awful. Don't do that. It will happen to you, though. But that's one of the things that you get into. So then you've got all these really wounded guys, and so then you could try to press the attack, but if you're wounded and you're trying to attack, it's very bad. It's much more likely that you'll just, like, collapse. So then you're doing your little rally checks to get your guys back up, but you can do a rally and then attack, and so it's the battles get very, very tense very, very quickly. And then in this one, so here's one of the big differences, is that if someone so this guy died, right? He died as a result of combat. As soon as he dies, you have to make a route check. And you check every single foot unit you have on the board to make sure that they don't immediately route off the board. And the rule is that they have to be within 2 spaces of 2 units of their formation. Or they have to be within 2 spaces of a unit that does satisfy those conditions. So that is much, much more forgiving than with it or on it. And that's one of the big changes in this, and what's one of those developments of the later style of warfare. The Romans were, I don't know if they were better trained or if their formations were better. It's just much more forgiving than having those old Greek phalanx units where you had to be adjacent to 2 units, otherwise it was just, and you would just dissolve. Here it's much easier to kind of keep your battle line integrity. You might be all horribly exhausted and hanging on by a thread, but if you were in that instance in the previous game, you would immediately just start, like, belting off the board, and it would be very ugly very quickly. So this one, your units are a bit more resilient. As such, the game takes a little bit longer because you'll have to do a bit more combat to really make that last breakthrough and to start making things dissolve. But I don't know, it's more, I enjoy that aspect of it. Here, it's not just charge in, someone's getting a knockout blow immediately. Here, it's like a good boxing fight. You're going to go a few rounds of attacking each other, doing a rally here. Oh, I did an unsuccessful rally. That means so much more in this, because it's that first step, and can I get my momentum back? There's this extra little layer of tension, which I think is nice, and I really appreciate that. But that's a big chunk of what's in this game. I think there's 10 battles, maybe 12. I think it's 10. I want to say it's 10, as opposed to the previous 6. So you're going to get a lot of variety. Excuse me. But also the battles are much more varied in their formations, shapes, and styles. Unit composition, all that kind of stuff is... You got a lot of neat stuff in here. So we had a blast playing this. What we'll do is we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. So that was a look at the game. I really enjoyed this. I knew I would going into this because of how much I enjoyed the first one in this series.
With it on it,
And it's more. It's also improved. Like this is again, the first rulebook is great.
6 or 8 pages.
You can read it and you can play it.
Yeah.
It makes a game even more accessible to people.
Yeah.
Like, it shows you how to play it.
I
appreciate
those examples. They hit every aspect that you're going to cross. Literally. Yeah. From skirmish and skirmish zones. Yeah, it's to routes, to how elephants work. I mean, it's just very well
Every
done.
page has, like, at least one big diagram on it. And, you know, let's be honest, for Ancient's tactical games... I don't know. Not a lot of people are like, "Ooh, that looks sexy," right?
Yeah,
or they're like, "Oh," they're like kind of scared off by some of the monstrous nature of some of the other ones. And so having a rulebook that is so easy to like dive into, this is a fantastic place to start. For Ancients, if you're interested,
I would agree.
And it is entirely unique in the way that it handles some of the stuff compared to other systems.
Yeah, I mean, C&C Ancients is one of those games that we love because it's really a good entry point as well.
Yeah, there's those two are the ones that I'd recommend.
Yeah, to me, this and that are the two that you would really love to start with. Then you do SPQR and Hoplite and all the other iterations of GBOH.
Yeah.
I know there's a fellow content creator. I want to say it's Solo Board Game. I'm trying to remember the name. I apologize. He played through like all these scenarios, and I watched some of the videos, and I was like,
Crown?
yeah, and I thought, boy, he did a great job on just sharing the game as he learned and grew with it, and
are they like playthroughs? Or was it kind of like scenario review type things?
I mean, some of it was a little bit of playthrough, but not everything.
People play is very
well,
helpful.
Yeah, because you understand the context of. But that's hard to do. I mean, when you're a content creator, you know how hard that is to do?
I do. It's extremely
very hard. Because how many mistakes do I make?
Hats off to people who like really go hard on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it.
It really opens up games to people.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, oh, I don't know about this game, or like, I'm not confident on it.
Yeah.
If I watch someone do it and they've like put together a half decent video, it's like,
I get it.
Good for you and good for me.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, but you know, I had a blast with this. I really like the system. When you're like down in the weeds, it gets really tense. When you're like, I've got my little 3 rally checks to make.
Yeah.
Each one of those dice rolls becomes really important.
Yep.
And then when you're doing your attacks, you're like, please don't roll an exchange. And it's like a 50-50 that you might be like, and that's great. And the pressure's on to like, I have to break your line before you break mine.
Yeah.
And both of you end up being like, it's very tenuous, and then it's like, one side's gonna collapse. But like, it's such great tension in a game that doesn't take 5 hours. It's, each one of these scenarios, you can play them in like an hour or so.
And I think this was a game that I highly anticipated this year. It was included in my, whatever I call that, top 10 most anticipated, because I liked With It or On It so much. And I had been reading Amabel's blog on the development of this game. And I'm so glad we have this. I'm so glad we played it. I'm so glad that we were able to experience it and share it, because I think every wargamer should give this a go.
Yeah, this is such, and I'll come back to this word, it's such a fun system.
Yeah.
It's a fun game to like play with as well, because it plays differently. You could almost treat it as an abstract. Shouldn't, but you could. And the mechanics, if you just played the mechanics, are interesting.
Yeah, they are.
Now to have that put into this piece of history, or to have that be modeled around this, and you get all the chromy rules and stuff, it's like, it's great stuff. I love it.
And it's steeped in history. I just love the research that she did. Even the name, the Grass Crown, that, we were talking about that. The Roman soldiers would honor a hero or a person who really kicked butt in the battle and saved they'd make a grass crown out of the grass on the battlefield. I just think that's so cool. It's so earthy, and there's a connection. I just think that's great.
Just even that call out to some of those details just helps to bring some of the flavor and history to life
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that very much
Yeah.
in this game. So, The Grass Crown from Hollandspiele, it is available. Check it out. And I'm hoping that this is extremely future-proof and we get more of it.
Yeah, I know that she's at least planning two or three more.
I would
of these.
imagine that that's the case based on the size of the box. But if you have never played Ancients, this is an excellent place to start. Or if you are looking for a new Ancients game, this system is very cool.
Yeah.
So appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.